In the early light of a misty morning, the small coastal town of Seabourn hummed softly with the quiet rhythm of daily life. The salty breeze slipped through narrow streets lined with weathered wooden houses and fishing boats bobbing gently in the harbor. Along the rocky shore, the waves whispered secrets to the sand, and the gulls cried overhead, their wings slicing through the pale sky. It was in this tranquil place, where time seemed to fold in on itself, that Jake Matthews returned home after what felt like an eternity away. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to like and subscribe, and tell me, have you ever experienced a bond so strong it could conquer distance? What's your favorite memory with a pet? Jake, a Navy SEAL with a steady gaze and a resolute jaw, stepped through the creaking gate of his modest cottage, the scent of salt and pine mingling with the faint aroma of brewing coffee from inside. His boots pressed against the worn wooden porch, and his eyes scanned the familiar surroundings. Everything looked the same: the peeling paint on the windowsill, the faded garden gnome near the door, the rustling maple tree that swayed in the gentle breeze. Yet, beneath this comforting familiarity, a quiet tension lingered, unseen but deeply felt. Beside Jake, Rex, his loyal Belgian Malinois, sat motionless on the porch steps, his amber eyes clouded with an unusual stillness. The dog's coat, usually gleaming with vitality and sharp alertness, appeared duller, and his tail, once a constant metronome of excitement, lay limp against the wooden planks. Jake felt an ache that wasn't physical but deep in his chest, a silent alarm ringing with the weight of absence and the toll it had taken. The bond between Jake and Rex was forged in the most unforgiving crucible. Countless deployments in hostile territories, missions cloaked in shadows and danger. Rex was not just a companion. He was a partner, a protector, and a source of unwavering strength. Together, they had faced the unforgiving deserts of the Middle East, the dense jungles of Southeast Asia, and the silent mountains where every step could mean life or death. Throughout it all, Rex had been Jake's shadow, his steady heartbeat in the chaos. But now, as Jake watched Rex hesitate at the edge of the porch, refusing to move toward the food bowl set out hours earlier, a heavy silence filled the space between them. Rex's usual enthusiasm for the morning ritual was gone. The dog's head hung low, his eyes avoiding Jake's steady gaze. It was as if Rex was carrying a weight Jake couldn't see, but could feel pressing against his own soul. Inside the cottage, the morning sun spilled golden light across a scattered array of military gear, dog harnesses, tactical vests, maps marked with coded locations. These were relics of a life that had demanded every ounce of Jake's focus and courage. Now, they seemed to be silent witnesses to a different kind of battle. The one Jake faced at home, where the enemy was invisible and the wounds were quiet. Jake knelt beside Rex, his hands trembling slightly as he reached out to touch the dog's coarse fur. The touch was gentle, tentative, a silent plea for connection. Rex's ears flicked, but he did not lift his head. The refusal to eat was more than just stubbornness. It was a sign of something deeper, a shadow that clung to his spirit. Memories surged unbidden through Jake's mind. Flashes of moments from his deployment, the sounds of distant gunfire, the sharp commands whispered between him and Rex during tense operations. Rex had always been fearless, the embodiment of loyalty and strength. But in those moments alone, separated by thousands of miles and endless days, something had shifted. The dog's refusal to eat was a silent scream, a manifestation of the pain both had endured in the long months apart. The town of Seabourn, with its sleepy streets and close-knit community, had witnessed Jake's departure with quiet pride and whispered prayers. Neighbors had gathered at the pier to wave flags as the transport plane lifted into the sky, carrying Jake and his unit into the unknown. Now, as Jake returned, weary and burdened, the town's serene facade offered little comfort against the storm brewing within his heart. At the edge of the garden, Jake spotted Mrs. Langley, an elderly widow who ran the local bakery. She stood by her gate, offering a warm smile that faltered when she noticed Rex's listlessness. Her eyes, sharp despite her years, held a mixture of sympathy and concern. She had known Jake since he was a boy, had watched him grow into the man who now struggled to bridge the gap between duty and home. "Rex is not himself, is he?" she asked softly as Jake approached. "No," Jake admitted, voice rough with emotion. "He hasn't eaten since I got back, won't even come out to play." Mrs. Langley nodded knowingly. "Dogs carry what we can't see. He's feeling the weight of your absence, just like you are." Jake swallowed hard, the truth settling heavily between them. For all his training and resilience, the quiet moments at home were the hardest to face. The bond that had kept them alive on the battlefield was fraying under the strain of distance and silence. Inside the kitchen, Jake prepared a simple breakfast, the clinking of plates and the hum of the coffee maker filling the room with a semblance of normalcy. He placed a bowl of water and food near the back door, hoping the familiar routine would coax Rex back to life. But the dog remained curled on the porch, eyes closed, as if retreating into a world Jake could not reach. As the day unfolded, Jake's thoughts drifted to the countless missions he and Rex had undertaken together. He remembered the early mornings before dawn, the whispered commands, the unspoken understanding that had made them a seamless team. Rex was more than a dog. He was a brother in arms, a guardian who had saved Jake's life more times than he could count. Yet now, the silence between them was deafening. Jake felt the sharp sting of helplessness, a feeling alien to a man trained to control chaos and face danger head-on. He paced the floor, restless and anxious, watching Rex's every move, searching for a spark of the dog's former spirit. The coastal winds carried the distant calls of fishermen preparing for the day, the rhythmic slap of sails against masts, and the faint laughter of children playing near the docks. Outside, Seabourn went about its peaceful existence, unaware of the quiet battle unfolding in Jake's home. As evening approached, the sky blazed with hues of orange and pink, casting long shadows across the harbor. Jake sat on the porch steps, Rex finally stirring beside him, but still refusing to eat. The dog rested his head on Jake's knee, a fragile gesture of trust amidst the silence. Jake reached out, fingers tracing the contours of Rex's face, his voice low and steady. "We'll get through this, buddy. I promise." The bond between them, forged in fire and tempered by hardship, remained unbroken, even as the challenges of home whispered their relentless call. In the stillness of Seabourn's twilight, a silent struggle began, a journey not of battlefields and missions, but of healing and rediscovery, where love and loyalty would be tested in the quiet spaces between words and memories. The morning light filtered softly through the thin curtains of Jake's living room, casting long, muted shadows across the worn rug. Outside, Seabourn stirred awake. Seagulls wheeling above the harbor, the distant clatter of boats preparing for another day at sea. Inside, the quiet atmosphere was heavy, weighted with a silence that seemed to stretch endlessly between Jake and Rex. Jake moved slowly through the house, his footsteps echoing faintly against the wooden floor. He paused by the back door, glancing down at Rex, who lay curled on the threshold, eyes half closed but unresponsive to the subtle summons of morning. The dog's refusal to eat persisted, a stubborn wall that Jake felt powerless to breach. He knelt beside Rex, brushing a hand gently over the dog's neck. The usual warmth, the eager spark that had once greeted him after every mission, was absent. It was as though Rex carried an invisible burden, a shadow that no amount of affection or coaxing could dispel. Jake's mind drifted back to those early deployments, to the nights spent in foreign deserts where the air was thick with dust and danger. He remembered the steady rhythm of Rex's breathing beside him, the way the dog's keen senses had saved them both on countless occasions. The memories came in fragments, gunfire echoing in the distance, whispered commands exchanged in tense moments, and the unspoken understanding that bound them together in life and death. But now, in the quiet of home, those memories seemed to haunt rather than comfort. Rex's silence was a mirror of Jake's own internal struggle, a reflection of the unspoken pain that neither could fully express. The separation, the long months apart, had left scars deeper than either wanted to admit. Jake rose and moved toward the kitchen, his thoughts heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. He poured a cup of coffee, the bitter aroma momentarily grounding him in the present. The house was otherwise still, the only sounds the occasional creak of settling wood and the faint ticking of an old clock hanging on the wall. He thought about the community that had welcomed him back, the neighbors who smiled politely but seemed hesitant to ask the questions he couldn't answer. The children who once ran to greet him now kept their distance, unsure how to approach a man changed by war and absence. Even Mrs. Langley's kind eyes held a cautious sadness, as if she understood the invisible wounds Jake carried. Outside, the sun climbed higher, bathing the town in warm light that belied the turmoil within Jake's heart. He stepped onto the porch, hoping the fresh air might stir something in Rex. The dog lifted his head briefly, ears twitching at the sound of distant waves, but then settled back into his withdrawn posture. Jake's frustration began to mount, a restless energy that simmered beneath his calm exterior. He tried to recall every piece of advice he had ever received about caring for military dogs, special diets, routines, playfulness. But nothing seemed to reach Rex. The dog's appetite remained stubbornly absent, and with it, a vital spark of life. Flashbacks surged unbidden, vivid and unrelenting. He saw Rex during their last mission, alert and fierce, eyes scanning the horizon for threats. He remembered the quiet moments after a successful operation, when the dog would nuzzle his hand, a silent affirmation of trust and survival. Those images felt like a lifetime ago, distant and intangible. Jake's fingers tightened around the edge of the porch railing as he struggled to reconcile the dog he had known with the one before him now. A shadow of his former self, weighed down by unseen trauma. It was a pain that transcended physical injury, a silent suffering that Jake recognized all too well in himself. He resolved to keep trying, to find a way through the silence and despair. The bond between them was unbreakable, forged in fire and tempered by loyalty. But the path to healing was uncertain, shrouded in the unspoken fears and quiet desperation of two souls struggling to reconnect. Throughout the afternoon, Jake engaged in small acts of care, softly spoken words, gentle brushes of a hand, and long walks along the rocky shore. Yet Rex remained distant, his eyes clouded with a sadness that mirrored Jake's own. The dog's refusal to eat became a symbol of their shared pain, a silent communication of loss and yearning. Neighbors passed by with sympathetic glances, their words few but filled with understanding. Mrs. Langley brought over a basket of freshly baked bread, placing it carefully on Jake's doorstep, her eyes reflecting a shared grief for the invisible wounds left by war. The town's quiet support was a balm, but it could not pierce the wall that separated Jake and Rex. As dusk settled over Seabourn, painting the sky in hues of lavender and gold, Jake sat alone on the porch, Rex resting silently beside him. The dog's breathing was shallow, but even, a fragile sign of endurance. Jake's thoughts wandered to the future, the uncertain days ahead, and the hope that somehow, through patience and love, they would find their way back to each other. The evening air grew cool, carrying the scent of salt and pine, and Jake wrapped his arm around Rex's shoulders. "I'm here, buddy," he whispered, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We'll get through this, one day at a time." In the quiet embrace of home, surrounded by the steady pulse of the coastal town, Jake and Rex began the slow, unspoken journey toward healing. The wounds were deep, the pain real, but the bond they shared was a beacon, a promise that even in silence, they were never truly alone. The morning sun spilled over the horizon, casting pale light onto the dew-kissed grass of Jake's backyard. A quiet stillness wrapped around the cottage, broken only by the faint rustling of leaves in the coastal breeze. Inside, Jake moved with a restless energy, determined to break through the wall of silence that had settled between him and Rex. Rex lay curled near the back door, eyes heavy and distant, a shadow of the vibrant dog he once was. Jake approached slowly, a small bag of special treats in hand, carefully selected by the local vet, meant to tempt even the most reluctant appetite. He knelt beside Rex, offering the morsels one by one, his voice low and coaxing. "Come on, boy, just a little something," Jake murmured, his fingers brushing gently against Rex's fur. But the dog's lips pressed tightly together, refusing the food as his gaze remained fixed on some unseen horizon. Frustration simmered beneath Jake's calm exterior. He had tried everything, warming the food, changing the flavors, even hand-feeding pieces that once would have been eagerly devoured. But Rex's withdrawal deepened each day, and with it, the growing fear that this was more than just a loss of appetite. It was a silent cry, a manifestation of pain neither of them fully understood. Determined not to give up, Jake decided to change tactics. He clipped on Rex's leash and stepped outside, hoping that the familiar routine of a walk might stir something awake within his faithful companion. The coastal path stretched before them, winding past weathered docks and salt-streaked boats resting in the harbor. The scent of the ocean mingled with the earthy aroma of pine and damp earth. At first, Rex remained stiff, barely moving beyond a few hesitant steps. But as they walked, Jake's steady presence seemed to chip away at the dog's reserve. The sharp eyes that once scanned the horizon for threats flickered with faint recognition when they passed by a favorite tree, and the soft crunch of leaves beneath their feet echoed memories of better days. Still, the nourishment Rex refused to take was a constant worry. Jake's mind churned with questions and doubts. Was Rex suffering from some unseen injury, a hidden illness? Or was the dog's silence the echo of trauma, the invisible scars that time alone could not heal? Back at the cottage, Jake tried familiar routines. Fetch games in the yard, gentle grooming, even playing soft music that once soothed Rex during restless nights. But each attempt was met with the same withdrawal, the dog's spirit retreating further into itself. The house, once alive with the sound of paws padding across floors and the joyful bark of greeting, now felt hollow and still. Jake's frustration was palpable. He paced the floor, running a hand through his hair as he grappled with feelings of helplessness. For a man trained to face danger head-on, this silent battle was an unfamiliar and unwelcome enemy. He sank into a worn armchair by the window, eyes fixed on Rex resting on the porch, the dog's head low and eyes closed. Jake's thoughts drifted back to the countless missions they had endured together. The long nights, the sudden bursts of action, the unspoken bond that had always pulled them through. Those memories were bittersweet now, reminders of a time when Rex's spirit was unbreakable. Jake reached for his phone, scrolling through messages from fellow SEALs and dog handlers. He found a thread discussing the emotional toll of deployments on military dogs, a topic often overlooked in the shadow of human sacrifice. Some handlers shared stories of similar struggles, offering advice and solace. Inspired, Jake began jotting down ideas, ways to rekindle Rex's interest in life, methods to ease the dog's anxiety and rebuild trust. He resolved to try everything, no matter how small or unconventional, to reach his partner. As dusk settled over Seabourn, painting the sky in soft shades of lavender and rose, Jake prepared a quiet dinner, placing a fresh bowl of food near the back door. He sat beside Rex, speaking in gentle tones, recounting tales of their past adventures, the missions, the camaraderie, the victories and losses. For a moment, Rex's ears twitched, and the dog lifted his head slightly, as if absorbing the words. Jake's heart quickened, hopeful that the bond they shared might yet spark a glimmer of life. Later, as night descended and the stars blinked into existence overhead, Jake lay on the floor beside Rex, the two sharing a fragile peace. The dog's breathing was steady but shallow, a quiet reminder of the journey ahead. Jake closed his eyes, mind filled with determination and quiet resolve. The road to healing would be long and fraught with challenges, but the loyalty between man and dog was a powerful force, one that neither time nor trauma could easily sever. In the stillness of the night, beneath the watchful gaze of the moon, Jake whispered softly, "We'll find our way back, Rex. I promise." The late afternoon light filtered through the kitchen window, casting long golden beams onto the hardwood floor, where Rex lay quietly, his eyes half closed and distant as always. Jake moved around the room with a careful rhythm, mindful not to disturb the fragile stillness that had settled between them. The day had been much like the ones before, quiet, filled with tentative attempts to coax Rex back to life. But with little success. Jake had spent the morning trying everything he could think of, special treats, gentle play, soothing words. But Rex's spirit remained shadowed, his appetite stubbornly absent. The dog's silence weighed heavily on Jake, a constant reminder of the invisible wounds left by months of separation and the harsh realities of deployment. As Jake gathered his gear to prepare for an evening walk, he absent-mindedly removed his SEAL jacket from the back of a chair, folding it carefully. The jacket was more than just clothing. It carried with it the scent of countless missions, the unmistakable aroma of Jake's presence, his sweat, and the places he had been. It was a tangible piece of the past, a lifeline to a world that Rex had once navigated alongside him. Jake draped the jacket over a nearby chair and paused, watching as Rex's nose twitched slightly. The dog's ears flicked, and for the first time in days, Rex lifted his head, his eyes locking onto the familiar fabric. Slowly, cautiously, Rex moved toward the jacket, sniffing deeply at the folds, his tail giving a faint, tentative wag. Jake's heart tightened at the sight. He knelt beside Rex, reaching out to gently stroke the dog's neck. "Hey, buddy," he murmured, voice soft with hope. "It's okay. It's just me." The moment was fragile, but it marked a subtle shift, a crack in the wall of silence that had separated them. Rex's eyes, still clouded with pain, held a glimmer of recognition, and the dog began to nuzzle the jacket, pressing his face into the fabric as if seeking comfort in its scent. Encouraged, Jake carefully lifted a corner of the jacket and held it near Rex's mouth. The dog hesitated for a heartbeat, then licked the fabric gently, a quiet acceptance that stirred something deep within Jake. Over the next few days, Jake made a ritual of bringing the jacket close to Rex during moments of anxiety and withdrawal. When the dog grew restless or seemed lost in memories of absence, the familiar scent became a beacon, grounding Rex in the present and reminding him of the steady presence at his side. Their bond, once strained by distance and silence, began to rebuild, not with grand gestures or sudden leaps, but through small, quiet moments of connection. Rex's appetite improved incrementally, coaxed back by the comfort of the jacket's scent and Jake's unwavering patience. Jake found himself sharing this discovery with fellow SEALs and military dog handlers, exchanging stories and advice about the emotional health of their canine partners. They discussed the power of scent as a tool for healing, a bridge between worlds separated by deployment and trauma. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low over the harbor, Jake and Rex walked along the rocky shore, the salty breeze tousling their hair and fur. Rex trotted alongside Jake with renewed energy, his eyes brighter, his tail wagging more freely. The jacket, folded carefully in Jake's backpack, was a silent companion on their path to recovery. Back at the cottage, Jake continued to use the jacket's scent as a source of comfort during quiet evenings. He would drape it over Rex's bed or hold it close during moments of restlessness, a tangible reminder that despite the distance and the hardships, they were together, united by trust, love, and the unbreakable bond forged through service. Though the road ahead remained uncertain, the discovery of the jacket's power marked a turning point, a step toward healing that neither Jake nor Rex had dared to hope for in the depths of their shared struggle. In the soft glow of twilight, with the ocean's gentle rhythm in the background, Jake whispered to Rex, "We're coming back, buddy, one scent at a time." The soft morning light filtered through the curtains of Jake's small cottage, casting a warm glow over the quiet room where Rex lay nestled against the familiar scent of Jake's SEAL jacket. The dog's breathing was steady, his eyes half closed but calmer than they had been in weeks. After days of slow progress, the bond between man and dog was beginning to stitch itself back together, one fragile thread at a time. Jake sat nearby, watching with a quiet sense of relief as Rex stirred, lifting his head to nuzzle once again at the worn fabric. The jacket had become more than just a piece of clothing. It was a lifeline, a symbol of safety and presence in a world that had felt uncertain and distant. That familiar scent had unlocked a door, allowing Rex to begin trusting again, to find comfort in Jake's return. Determined to nurture this fragile connection, Jake began to incorporate the jacket's scent into their daily routines. Mornings started with gentle brushing sessions, the jacket draped over Rex's bed, its scent blending with the dog's own familiar smells. During moments of anxiety or restlessness, Jake would hold the jacket close, speaking softly, his voice a steady anchor. Outside, the coastal breeze carried the sounds of seaborne waking up, the distant call of fishermen, the rhythmic slap of waves against the harbor, and the occasional bark of a dog greeting the day. Jake and Rex took long walks along the rocky shoreline, the rhythm of their footsteps, a quiet meditation on resilience and healing. With each passing day, Rex's appetite improved. Small bites turned into full meals, and the once dull eyes regained a spark of life. Jake noticed the subtle shifts, the wag of a tail, the eager tilt of a head, the renewed curiosity in the dog's gaze. It was a slow transformation, but one that filled Jake with hope and determination. In the evenings, Jake would sit on the porch, Rex resting at his feet, the jacket folded carefully beside them. They shared silent moments, the unspoken understanding between them a testament to their enduring bond. Jake's thoughts often wandered to the countless missions they had faced together, the dangers survived, and the loyalty that had never wavered. Recognizing the importance of what they had discovered, Jake began to share his experience with fellow SEALs and military dog handlers. In quiet conversations and informal gatherings, he spoke of the healing power of familiar scents, the comfort they could provide in moments of separation and distress. Stories were exchanged, advice given, and a network of support formed around the emotional well-being of these extraordinary canine partners. One afternoon, during a training session with other handlers, Jake demonstrated the use of the jacket's scent as a calming tool. The other dogs responded with curiosity and calm, their handlers nodding in appreciation of the simple yet profound method. It was a small step toward broader awareness of the unique challenges faced by military working dogs and the importance of caring for their emotional health. Back at home, Jake continued to build rituals around the jacket's presence. Before bed, he would hold it close to Rex, whispering promises of safety and return. The dog's trust deepened, and with it, a renewed sense of connection blossomed between them. The journey was far from over, but the path was clearer, illuminated by the quiet power of love and loyalty. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of amber and violet, Jake and Rex sat together, the jacket resting between them like a bridge across the silent spaces that had once divided. The coastal town of Seabourn, with its gentle rhythms and enduring spirit, bore witness to their healing, a testament to the unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of service. In the fading light, Jake looked down at Rex, a smile touching his lips. "We're getting there, buddy," he said softly, "one step at a time." The crisp morning air carried a hint of salt from the nearby sea as Jake stood on the porch, the familiar weight of his SEAL jacket slung over his shoulder. The town of Seabourn was waking slowly. Fishermen prepping their boats, the distant clatter of anchors, and the faint murmur of early risers greeting the day. Yet beneath the calm surface of the town, an undercurrent of tension stirred within Jake's heart. Today marked a turning point. His orders had come through. A new deployment was imminent. Fondvercaro, reality of leaving again weighed heavily on him, a knot tightening in his chest as he considered the prospect of separation, not just from family and friends, but from Rex, his steadfast companion through every mission and every quiet moment at home. Rex, now showing signs of renewed vitality, stood beside Jake, his amber eyes bright but alert, tail wagging cautiously. The progress they had made together was fragile, a delicate thread woven through patience, trust, and the comforting scent of Jake's jacket. Leaving Rex behind, even temporarily, felt like unraveling that thread. Jake knelt, running his hands over Rex's sleek coat, his voice steady but soft. "I've got to go, buddy, but I'll be back, I promise." The dog pressed his head into Jake's palm, a silent acknowledgement. But the tension in his posture betrayed a lingering uncertainty. Inside the house, preparations for departure filled the rooms with a quiet urgency. Military gear was packed carefully into duffel bags, tactical equipment laid out with methodical precision. Yet, amidst the bustle, Jake's thoughts remained anchored to Rex. He knew that the emotional toll of separation was not just his own burden, but one that weighed heavily on his canine partner. The town of Seabourn, with its tight-knit community and unspoken understanding of sacrifice, offered its quiet support. Neighbors stopped by with words of encouragement and small tokens of comfort. A basket of homemade treats for Rex, a note tucked into Jake's bag reminding him to stay safe. Their gestures, simple yet heartfelt, underscored the unique strain borne by those who serve and the companions who stand beside them. Jake took refuge in the familiar routines they had cultivated. The scent of his jacket, the gentle rituals that had begun to heal the wounds of absence. He carefully placed the jacket near Rex's bed, a tangible reminder of his presence even when he was gone. The dog sniffed the fabric, tail wagging faintly, a small comfort against the looming separation. As the hour of departure approached, Jake led Rex outside for one last walk along the familiar paths by the harbor. The salty breeze tousled their hair and fur, the rhythmic sound of waves a steady backdrop. Rex moved with cautious energy, eyes scanning the horizon as if sensing the weight of the moment. Jake's mind raced with the challenges ahead. Not just the mission that awaited him, but the uncertainty of Rex's well-being in his absence. Military working dogs like Rex were trained for resilience, but the emotional strain of repeated separations was a silent battle few understood. Jake resolved to do everything in his power to ease that burden. Returning home, Jake created a ritual to prepare Rex for the days apart. He wrapped the seal jacket carefully, infusing it with his scent once more before placing it within reach of the dog. "Whenever you feel lost, buddy, this is for you. I'm always with you," he whispered, his fingers lingering on the fabric. The night before his departure, Jake sat beside Rex, the two sharing a quiet peace born of trust and love. The dog rested his head on Jake's knee, eyes closing briefly in a moment of calm. Outside, the town of Seabourn settled under a blanket of stars, the gentle hum of the sea mingling with the soft rustle of leaves. Morning came with a bittersweet glow. Jake donned his uniform, the weight of his gear a physical reminder of duty and sacrifice. He knelt one last time, pressing a kiss to Rex's forehead. "I'll be back soon," he promised, voice steady despite the swirl of emotions. As Jake walked toward the waiting vehicle that would take him away, Rex watched intently, the dog's body tense but composed. Near Rex's bed lay the jacket, a steadfast presence in the quiet house. Jake's silhouette faded into the distance, but the bond between them remained unbroken, anchored by rituals, memories, and the unyielding strength of loyalty. In the days that followed, Jake carried the image of Rex's trusting eyes with him through the challenges of deployment. The thought of the jacket and the rituals they had created offered solace, a reminder that even across vast distances, their connection endured. Back in Seabourn, Rex adapted to Jake's absence with the comfort of the familiar scent close by. The community support and the routines they had built became a lifeline, bridging the gap between separation and hope. Though the road ahead was uncertain, Jake faced it armed not only with training and determination, but with the quiet reassurance that the bond between him and Rex would weather the trials of time and distance. Their story was one of resilience, a testament to the unbreakable partnership forged in service and sustained by love. The faint glow of dawn spilled over the horizon, casting a gentle light across Jake's modest home in Seabourn. The town remained quiet, save for the distant call of seabirds and the rhythmic lapping of waves against the harbor docks. Inside, Jake moved with purpose, the weight of his mission balanced against the quiet rituals he had carefully crafted with Rex. After returning from the previous deployment, Jake had resolved to prepare both himself and Rex for the inevitable separations that military life demanded. The bond that tethered them was strong, but required nurturing, especially when distance threatened to fray the edges. With this in mind, Jake began training Rex to associate the scent of his seal jacket with comfort and security, a ritual meant to bridge the physical gaps imposed by duty. In the living room, Jake sat cross-legged on the floor, the jacket folded neatly beside him. Rex lay nearby, alert but calm, eyes following Jake's every movement. Slowly, Jake lifted the jacket, allowing Rex to sniff the familiar scent deeply. The dog's tail gave a subtle wag, a sign of recognition and reassurance. "Good boy," Jake murmured, his voice steady and warm. "Whenever I can't be here, this jacket will remind you I'm close." This ritual became a daily practice. At dawn and dusk, Jake would present the jacket to Rex, pairing the scent with gentle words and soft touches. Over time, Rex learned to find solace in the fabric's presence during moments of anxiety or restlessness. The jacket transformed into a symbol, not just of Jake's physical presence, but of the trust and protection that defined their relationship. Jake recorded these sessions, sharing the technique with fellow SEALs and military dog handlers during informal meetings and training workshops. The response was immediate and heartfelt. Many handlers recognized the emotional toll that repeated deployments took on their canine partners and welcomed this simple yet profound method as a tool for healing. During one such gathering at a nearby training facility, Jake demonstrated the ritual with Rex in front of a group of handlers. As Rex approached the jacket, his demeanor softened and his breathing steadied. The handlers exchanged knowing glances, some nodding thoughtfully, others asking questions about the scent's power and the rituals Jake employed. "It's not just about the smell," Jake explained. "It's about creating a connection, a reminder that even when we're apart, our bond remains unbroken." Back at home, Jake integrated the jacket's scent into daily life beyond the ritual sessions. He draped it over Rex's bed, slipped it into the dog's crate during travel, and even carried a small piece tucked inside his gear during missions. The scent became a constant presence, a source of comfort that transcended distance and circumstance. As Rex's confidence and spirit improved, Jake noticed subtle changes. The dog's eagerness during training, the relaxed posture during rest, and an overall sense of calm that had been absent before. It was a gradual transformation, one that reinforced the importance of emotional care alongside physical training. Jake also began to share his story with military support groups and veterans organizations, advocating for greater awareness of the emotional needs of working dogs. He emphasized that these animals were more than tools of war. They were partners deserving of care, compassion, and understanding. Outside, the coastal winds carried the scent of pine and salt water, a reminder of the rugged beauty that framed their lives. Jake and Rex often walked along the shoreline, the rhythm of their footsteps a meditation on resilience and companionship. The jacket, folded carefully in Jake's backpack, was a silent witness to their journey, a talisman of trust and hope. In quiet moments, Jake reflected on the sacrifices entailed by service, the distance, the danger, and the longing. Yet through it all, the enduring loyalty between him and Rex was a beacon, guiding them through uncertainty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of amber and violet, Jake settled beside Rex on the porch. The dog rested his head on Jake's knee, eyes closing in contentment. Between them lay the jacket. It sent a gentle reminder of presence and protection. "We're ready for whatever comes," Jake whispered, fingers tracing the familiar fabric. Together, in the fragile balance of duty and devotion, Jake and Rex forged a path forward, one marked by preparation, patience, and the unbreakable bond that defined their shared journey. The dawn broke over Seabourn with a soft pink glow, the sky slowly brightening as the harbor stirred to life. Boats bobbed gently on the tide, and the distant cries of gulls echoed through the crisp morning air. On the porch of his small cottage, Jake Matthews knelt beside Rex, the Belgian Malinois alert but calm, his amber eyes reflecting a mixture of trust and quiet anticipation. Today was the day Jake was to deploy again, a bittersweet moment heavy with the weight of separation, yet underscored by the rituals they had built to bridge the distance. The SEAL jacket that had become a symbol of comfort and connection lay folded carefully beside them, its familiar scent infused with promises and memories. Jake reached out to stroke Rex's neck, his voice soft but steady. "I've got to go, buddy. But I want you to know I'm always with you." The dog pressed his head gently against Jake's hand, the smallest wag of his tail betraying the bond that remained unbroken despite the looming goodbye. Inside, the house was quiet, but alive with preparation. Jake's gear lay packed and ready, the tactical vest and boots arranged with military precision. Yet, amidst the readiness, his mind lingered on Rex, the loyal partner who had weathered so much, now facing the uncertainty of another absence. Jake carefully draped the SEAL jacket near Rex's bed, making sure the dog could easily reach its comforting scent. "Whenever you feel alone or scared, this is for you," Jake whispered. Rex sniffed the fabric, eyes closing briefly as if drawing strength from the familiar presence. Outside, the coastal breeze carried the salty tang of the sea, rustling through the maple trees that lined the street. Neighbors paused to offer nods and quiet words of encouragement, their understanding born from shared respect for the sacrifices of service members and their families. As the hour grew near, Jake stepped onto the porch one last time, lifting Rex into a firm embrace. The dog rested his head against Jake's chest, the warmth and steady heartbeat a fleeting comfort in the face of impending separation. The vehicle waiting at the end of the driveway was a stark contrast to the gentle serenity of the morning, a symbol of duty, urgency, and the unknown. Jake straightened his uniform, swallowing the lump in his throat as he kissed Rex's forehead. "I'll be back soon, I promise." Rex's eyes met Jake's, filled with a mix of loyalty, understanding, and the quiet courage that had carried them through countless challenges. With a final pat, Jake stepped away, the jacket's scent lingering in the air like an invisible tether. From the porch, Rex watched as Jake disappeared down the street, the dog's posture tense but composed. The jacket lay within reach, a beacon of reassurance amid the stillness of the empty house. Days stretched into weeks, each marked by the steady rhythm of the sea and the silent hope carried on the coastal winds. Jake's thoughts often returned to Rex, the dog's resilience, the rituals they had forged, and the promise that no distance could sever their bond. Back in Seabourn, Rex adapted to Jake's absence with the comfort of the jacket's scent close by. The familiar smell became a constant companion during quiet nights and restless moments, easing the ache of separation. The routines they had built together provided structure and solace, a lifeline in the ebb and flow of military life. Neighbors and friends checked in regularly, their support a quiet chorus that recognized the unique challenges faced by service members and their canine partners. Small gestures, a fresh bowl of water, a warm blanket, a gentle voice, helped bridge the gap between absence and presence. Through it all, the bond between Jake and Rex remained steadfast, a testament to the power of loyalty, preparation, and the rituals that sustained them. The SEAL jacket, folded with care and imbued with meaning, was more than fabric and scent. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring connection that transcended time and distance. As the sun set each evening over the harbor, painting the sky with hues of amber and violet, Jake held on to the promise of reunion, his heart anchored by the knowledge that Rex waited patiently, comforted by the scent that spoke of home and unwavering devotion. In the quiet moments before sleep, Jake whispered into the night, "I'm coming back, Rex. Hold on for me." The early morning sun painted Seabourn in warm hues of gold and amber as Jake's truck rumbled quietly down the familiar coastal road. The salty breeze drifted through the open window, carrying with it the distant cries of gulls and the comforting scent of the sea. After weeks away, the day Jake had longed for had finally arrived. The moment to reunite with Rex, his steadfast partner through every mission, every separation, and every silent struggle. As his truck pulled into the gravel driveway of the modest cottage, Jake's heart quickened, a mix of anticipation and relief threading through him. The porch light flickered softly in the dawn, and there, lying near the door, was Rex. Alert, eyes bright, tail wagging with a cautious but unmistakable joy. Jake climbed out and knelt slowly, his hands trembling slightly as he reached out to run over Rex's sleek coat. The dog pressed his head into Jake's palms, a surge of warmth and familiarity flooding both of them. The weeks apart melted away in that single, electric moment. A reunion forged in loyalty and unspoken understanding. Rex's vitality was unmistakable. His eyes gleamed with renewed spirit, his movements agile and purposeful. The dog's refusal to eat, the withdrawal that had shadowed their first days together after the long deployment, was gone. In its place stood a companion reborn, strong, resilient, and unwavering. Jake's voice was low but steady, filled with quiet gratitude. "Welcome home, buddy. I missed you." Rex responded with a soft bark, a sound that echoed the bond they had nurtured through patience and love. Inside the cottage, sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating the familiar surroundings that had witnessed their journey. The worn armchair, the dog's bed draped with Jake's SEAL jacket, and the scattered military gear all told a story of endurance and hope. It was a story written not just in actions, but in the silent moments. The gentle touches, the whispered promises, and the scent that had bridged the distance. Jake settled beside Rex, feeling the dog's steady breathing against his side. The bond between them, tested by time and trauma, had emerged stronger. A testament to the resilience born from shared sacrifice and unwavering loyalty. Outside, the town of Seabourn stirred to life, its gentle rhythms a backdrop to the quiet victory unfolding within the cottage. Neighbors offered warm smiles and nods of recognition, their support a tapestry woven from respect and understanding. Jake's thoughts drifted to the countless missions they had faced together, the dangers braved, the victories earned, and the losses mourned. But it was here, in these moments of reunion and renewal, that the true strength of their partnership shone brightest. He reached for the SEAL jacket, now folded neatly on the armchair, its scent infused with stories of service and the promise of return. "We made it through, Rex," he murmured. Together. Rex's tail thumped softly against the floor, a rhythm of joy and belonging. The dog's eyes locked onto Jake's, speaking volumes beyond words, a language of trust, love, and enduring commitment. As the sun climbed higher, casting warm light across the room, Jake and Rex rose to face the day. The house, once heavy with silence, now echoed with the sounds of life and renewal. The soft padding of paws, the gentle murmur of conversation, and the unbreakable bond of a man and his dog reunited. Their journey was far from over. But in this moment, the past's shadows receded, replaced by hope and the enduring strength of their connection. The trials of separation, the silent struggles, and the quiet victories all converged into a story of loyalty and resilience. A story that would continue to unfold with each new dawn. As Jake opened the door to the world beyond their home, Rex at his side, the coastal breeze carried their shared promise forward. A promise that no matter the distance, no matter the challenges, their bond would endure. And in the heart of Seabourn, beneath the vast sky and the watchful gaze of the sea, a Navy SEAL and his dog walked together once more, united, unbroken, and ready for whatever lay ahead.